Hey Crestwood, happy Wednesday to you all. Hope you are doing well today and enjoying this week. It's my honor to be with you this morning to bring this devotional for this Wednesday, June 18th. I may sound a little tired or a little hoarse. My body's still recovering from a quick trip to Los Angeles to present at a conference about the work that I did with my doctorate of ministry. I flew out Sunday evening, flew back Tuesday evening, so had a quick turnaround with a few time zones in between, so I'm still recovering from that. It was a great conference. It was for a group of congregations in the western part of our church, or of our country, that are a part of the Thriving Congregations Initiative. It was interesting to be in the LA area at this time with all that is going on out there in relation to immigration and protests. And I was wondering how that would impact the conference, if at all. The conference was in Fullerton, which is about 30 miles south of that, so not really in an area that was impacted by that. But there were a couple pastors who shared during our opening worship time who were impacted by that. Both Latinx pastors who knew of people or knew of churches who were directly impacted by the ICE raids or directly impacted by the protests. And one of those gentlemen, Pastor Eddie, shared about the challenges that he faced in trying to stand up to what he felt was illegal actions on the part of the military and our government, while also trying to minister to the people who were impacted by this and people who struggled with this on all sides of the issue. And I know there's so much political about what's going on, and it is not my goal to make a political statement about that, but it is my goal to say these are real people on both sides of the issue that are being impacted by that. Pastor Eddie told a story about how this past Sunday, one of the things that he did was he went around to families who had men taken by ICE who were being detained in a downtown facility. And he collected Father's Day cards from all the kids, and he took them down to try to give them to the dads who were currently being held, and passing those off to the military there to try to get the cards to them. And I thought, what a moment of humanity in the midst of all of this, of one person handing Father's Day cards to another person to give them to the fathers who were in there. It just reminds me that these are real people that we're talking about. Separate from the political or ideological issues that are at play, these are real people being impacted by that. I couldn't imagine being the father who didn't get the Father's Day card, but I also couldn't imagine being the soldier or the military personnel who was handed these cards in this moment of humanity. You know, Paul says in Scripture that when one of us weeps, we all should weep. When one of us suffers, we all should suffer. And Jesus says we are to love our neighbor as ourselves. So I wonder how that is dictating how we think about these issues. I wonder how that is dictating what we are called to do. You know, it was so interesting because Pastor Eddie gave this just impassioned story about what was going on, and then I had to present about doing ministerial evaluations. And I thought, nothing seems less important right now than what I am about to talk about. And yet I hope what I had to say was helpful. But it's easy for those of us who are not directly impacted to feel helpless in what's going on. And so I spent extra time in prayer while I was out there, just praying that God's will be done, that God's Spirit show up, that the humanity that connects us together would overcome anything that seeks to divide us. It seems like we are getting further and further apart as people, as a country, and that's not who we are called to be. We are called to be one by Jesus Christ. He says that in his prayer in John 17. He prays that we all be one as he and God are one. I feel like that's up to us. Where are we seeking unity even in the midst of division? Where are we seeking to honor each other's common humanity even in the midst of the political forces that seek to divide us? Where are we seeking to honor that fathers deserve a Father's Day card, even when they are being held against their will in those kind of situations? How are we extending humanity? How are we extending God's love to people who are on all sides of this issue? No one should be demonized. No one should be ostracized. No one should be painted as all good or all bad. Everybody's a human being trying to do what they feel is best, even if we feel that that's wrong. if we lose sight of that, if we lose sight of the other person's common humanity, we lose sight of what connects us, we lose sight of the image of God in them. Crestwood, today, I want to encourage you to pray for the divisiveness in our world, to seek to find the common humanity that exists in all people who are on that side of the issue, and to do something that shines God's light into that situation. May God's love prevail even in the midst of all the things that seek to separate us. God bless you, Crestwood.